Just a reminder, everyone, of the disclaimer. So anything we talk about today is for educational, entertainment, and information purposes only. Morning, everyone. So a lot of shaky yesterday. S&P, here's your 2-hour chart. So we saw this negative divergence here well before the breakdown, cross down on the MACD. So really good to look at these 2-hour charts sometimes, especially if you're a short-term trader. But as I said, there's a lot of damage on this chart. So there's a lot of work to be done for things to get sorted out. From a gamma perspective, we're not in that much trouble yet. We sort of peaked over the cliff and then bounced back a little bit at the end of the day. But I think this remains a bit of a concern. If we start to get through that 5,900 level, the market might sort of front run the fact that dealers are going to be short down there. We can see that we have this Vega exposure on the VIX, for example. So once we get going to the upside on the VIX, which has actually been quite calm, quite tame compared to some of the nervousness out there, although we really are only about 3.2% off the all-time high. So it stands to reason that the VIX isn't going to get super excited, but that beta of the VIX to the S&P, meaning how reactive has the VIX been to S&P sell-offs, has not been as high as we saw it maybe 4, 5, 6 months ago. So it's hanging in there. We're having trouble breaking through that 20 level. But if we do get through that 20 level, we can see that dealers are going to be increasingly short Vega. That means short options. They're short that upside call skew, and that's going to probably get them really nervous. So if this sell-off persists, we could get a very big update in the VIX. For now, it's kind of hanging in there. VIX cash is above the first 2 or 3 futures. So there's definitely signs of durable volatility, durable fear out there. And of course, it's going to be related to growth and inflation and a resulting stagflation. So tailwinds to inflation, they're really starting to add up a little bit. Like I said yesterday, Trump wants to sort of break a few things early in order for things to improve over the long run. I think they will improve over the long run, but in the meantime, we've got some issues related to higher pricing, potentially slowing growth, and some employment issues. We've got Doge kind of, getting out there and taking the chainsaw to certain areas. And so that could be a little bit of a problem too. So of course, what do we have today? We have NVIDIA, a little bit of a different picture, right? We don't have the typical FOMO. Last year, we really saw a lot of call buying into these events. We see the complete opposite now. We see this put buying actually into earnings and calls being sold off. So that creates an interesting structure. If you do think that NVIDIA is going to at least maybe surprise to the upside, or at least come in with their usual strength and commentary, then the upside actually remains a little bit on the cheap side. So people are definitely nervous. Does it matter? Does NVIDIA matter to the market? I've been saying for months that it isn't as important, and we can certainly see that in the broadening out of markets that has happened since sort of September. So we've seen that the AI trade, the NVIDIA type trade has not been as important. We can see it struggling. Microsoft's been struggling for 6 or 7 months, and yet the market has done just fine in general. So we've seen this broadening out. So the stock market has been about much more than just the Mag 7 and a few stocks. We've had strength come from many different areas of the economy. So now potentially with the rate cuts maybe on the horizon again, maybe not yet, but that could get Powell a little bit more dovish, and that could be suddenly potentially rates coming down, maybe for some of the wrong reasons, which is maybe slowing growth. But we're going to finally get those rate cuts, maybe certainly not rate hikes at this point, and maybe that's a positive for some of those. We saw some of the home builders start to bounce back. Some of those types of things that are maybe a little bit more rate sensitive start to do well again yesterday. So interesting into NVIDIA here. They're expecting about 8.5% on that earnings move. I think that's maybe a little bit on the high side. I don't think we're going to really necessarily do a whole lot. If we do get a huge pop, I think they may sort of stall it out a little bit after the close. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be kind of interesting. So we'll see you in the next video.